Glad you could join us for this weekly devotional from Dora Church of Christ. I began thinking this morning, and as I stepped outside, I often find myself, just like everyone else, having to go do my morning chores and thinking about walking through the mud. For dry country, we've now find ourselves in the fourth day of rain, and not what I would call excessive rain, but there are some places that have had a great deal of rain. It's sort of a gray, drizzly, cold for this time of year day. It's muddy and it's a mess with the forecast of a few more days of rain. Now, whether that will happen or not, I don't know. But it's often at this point when we begin walking in the mud and as we go in the house trying to clean off our boots and be able to walk through the house or walk through the office with our feet not cracking mud all over the carpet or all over the freshly mopped linoleum. And the kids have been in, my grandkids are here, been inside, and they're a little rowdy. Just all the things that happen when we have those gray, drizzly, cold days. And we become a little bit discouraged or down, or maybe we're a farmer and it's a little too cool. And I understand that. But as one who belongs to God, we need to see blessing. In Psalms the 13th chapter, verses 5 and 6, he says, "But I have trusted in your steadfast law. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountiful with me." In Psalms 118, verse 21, he said, "I thank you that you have answered me and have become my salvation. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." We go over to Matthew chapter 5, verse 11, and we hear this and we wonder what God's saying, but so often we miss some points. We're starting verse 11. He said, "Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Luke 10, verse 20. He says, "Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your name is written in heaven." In 2 Corinthians 6, we find that one Paul, and he is always one that is a man that I would want to talk to. I would want to know about him because of his willingness to give himself over to God. In 2 Corinthians 6, starting in verse 7, talks about all the things that he's been through, the difficulties. He said, "By truthful speech and power of God, with the weapons of righteousness for the right hand and for the left, through honor and through dishonor, through slander and praise. We are treated as impostors and yet are true." He says, "Through God we have these things. We're true. As unknown and yet we are well known. As dying, we behold, we live. As punished and yet not killed. As sorrowful, yet always rejoicing. As poor, yet making many rich. As having nothing, yet possessing everything." But at the beginning of 10, he said, "As sorrowful, yet always rejoicing." This idea of rejoicing in God, just simply because God is God, God is Almighty. He gives us those things. He gives us everything. Philippians 4:4, he said, "Rejoice in the Lord always." And again, I will say rejoice. Sometimes we find ourselves down. We find ourselves we find ourselves sometimes looking at all of the difficult things. He's saying, lift your head up and praise God. This is his world. He knows what he's doing. That is so often difficult for us to get a hold of. We want what we think is right for me. God is looking at the whole picture. It's a tremendous picture. It is so big. We find the little things in the rains, and sometimes whatever it is, the heat, the storm, the troubles we find ourselves in, our worldly storms, and we fail to remember God. I have to rejoice this morning because there's moisture. Oh, it'll make me have to mow a little more, but maybe it'll make a crop. But it waters the land. We have cattle that need it. We have those who that's how they make their living. I look around and I see the great things that God has done. I have to remember I can get up out of bed and walk today. I can tend to my business. I can go out in the mud and I can do my chores. I can look at my daughter who's had a long, long wait and finally delivered her third child yesterday evening. We wonder why we have to go through the difficult things beforehand. We wonder sometimes why we have why why was it not easier? Because when that which is good comes, we will know it. We will know that it's good. We'll know that it's precious. We'll know that it's enjoyable. Just as this granddaughter is going to be enjoyable. And just as the next one that is to be born is enjoyable. We often see things and we think, well, I'm going to lose a crop because of this rain, because of the cold. And there will be some crops lost in cotton, I know. But God knows what is needed overall. And he says, rejoice. Rejoice in all that you have. So I want us to think about that over the rest of this week. I want us to lift our heads up and praise God for what we have. Because he was giving us a gift. He is giving us a gift. It may be that this land needs a lot of moisture because it's been a long time since it's had a lot of moisture. Don't get discouraged by the gifts that are given because they're not exactly what I want at the right time. We know that God knows what he's doing. He's looking at the whole and he knows how to give good gifts. Look to God. Remember, there are more gifts than just the ones that we can so readily see, and even those who give us discouragement are worth praising God over. Thank you for being here this morning. I hope that you will seek to enjoy this rain that we have, the coolness. If nothing else, take a day off. Enjoy sitting around. And I know as a farmer, that's not always an option. And a rancher, that's not always an option. But if it is, take the time. Take the time, sit down, pick up a Bible and begin reading through it and find those things that God says rejoice over. Thank you for being here, and may God bless you.